Hello. Personal income tax, then corporate income tax, कभी कभी हम झूठ भी बोलते हैं. So at 8 o'clock you will have test of half an hour. Those who want to write it here, it's fine, or those who want to take it and they want to write at home, that's also fine. 30. Personal income tax we have already understood, है ना? Now in case of personal income tax, government gives exemptions. In the same way, for corporate income tax also government gives certain exemptions. Now suppose revenue of a company is 100 crore. ठीक है? We are discussing this one, corporate income tax. Cost 60 crore, profit 40 crore. This profit is called booked profit. In general we call it profit also, but generally we call it booked profit in account books. What profit we are declaring in our account books. Then tax basically we should write corporate income tax. 30%, 12 crore, right? So this is general formula. Now I said that in case of companies also government gives certain exemptions. For example, if a company is doing certain capital expenditure, so on that expenditure government may exempt tax. Whatever expenses you are doing on, your government wants to promote capital expenditure, so sometimes government may give exemptions on capital expenditure. That means whatever expenditure the company is doing on capital part, on that government may not charge tax. So suppose this company claimed exemptions, the company claimed exemptions 10 crore. That means 10 crore government, this company has shown that it has done this thing which are exempted under the rules and regulations of government. Then taxable profit will be, booked profit 40 crore, taxable profit 30 crore. Then corporate income tax 9 crore, 30%. Okay. This is case 1. Now case 2, suppose the company, if you hire good CA, they know the loopholes in the system and they are able to claim more exemptions. So in the second case, suppose somehow they showed exemptions 30 crore. Okay. Since when I have hired a CA, my income has increased and tax has reduced. So there are loopholes in the system which they know very well, and they will be able to save certain taxes. So suppose somehow they show exemptions 30 crore. Taxable profit 10 crore and corporate income tax 3 crore. So companies exploited the loopholes, companies started exploiting the loopholes, and then they started avoiding paying tax, and government started losing tax revenue. So government came with a formula. First case mein CIT 9 crore, second case it is 3 crore. So government came out with a formula. So government said, let's calculate 18.5% of booked profit. 18.5% of booked profit will be equal to rupees 7.4 crore. Okay. Let's calculate this thing. Now case 1, CIT this and this gives 7.4. Whichever is the highest that the company will have to pay as tax. So which is highest? This is highest. So case 1 mein what will be the tax? 9 crore. Case 2, which is highest? This is higher. So case 2, this will have to be paid. Case 2 mein what will be the tax liability? 7.4 crore. So whichever is minimum, this or this, you will have to pay. Whichever is maximum, that you will have to pay. This is called MAT. Now listen carefully. In first case, the company will be paying, in any of these cases, company will be paying either MAT or CIT. Only one tax will be imposed. Either MAT or CIT. First case mein which will be applicable? CIT or MAT? CIT. CIT. Second case mein the company will pay CIT or MAT? MAT. So minimum, in any case minimum, you are bound to pay that. Below that it will not go, because this is a kind of floor limit. So minimum alternate tax, whatever exemptions you show, in any case minimum you will have to pay this much. So even if you are showing a lot of exemptions, you will have to pay minimum this tax, minimum alternate. So either companies pay corporate income tax or they pay minimum alternate tax. समझ गए?
18.5% ये fixed है.
Fixed है, that may also change. That may also change. Tax rates याद रखने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, but right now it is MAT is 18.5%. So either you will pay MAT or corporate income tax.
It's
it's beneficial. देखो company started exploiting the loopholes. Now government had two options. Either it would have removed all the exemptions. Now that government didn't want to do. So government put as a cap. Government has put a cap that even if there are a lot of exemptions existing, government put a cap so that you can't reduce your tax liability to a certain level.
Lower tax rate a little bit like 25%
that is also cool. That government is planning to do. That government is planning to do.
So why did they did this earlier?
Earlier matlab? See, government, this BJP government 5 years back, it said that it will be removing most of the exemptions and it will be reducing the tax rate from 30% to 25%. Till now it has not been able to do. That is why this thing is going on. In future we may remove all the exemptions and we can do that. But till the time we have this situation. So this is basically a restraint that you can't use exemptions to beyond a certain level. You can't use exemptions beyond a certain level. समझ गए? किसी को डाउट है? %30 CIT is corporate income tax is rate 30%. CIT is 30% of booked profit. CIT is 30% of booked profit. Sorry, CIT is taxable profit पे लगता है. So here we didn't show any exemptions. So the tax was 12 crore. Here we didn't show any exemptions. Tax was 12 crore. Now we are showing exemptions, tax is 9 crore. Here it is 3 crore. Suppose the company don't claim any exemptions. How much tax it will have to pay? 12 crore. If the company will show exemptions worth 10 crore, how much it will have to pay? 9 crore. If the company will show exemptions 30 crore, how much tax it will have to pay? 3 crore, 7.4 crore. So in first case, tax liability will be 9 crore. In second case, tax liability will be 7.4. CIT 12 crore. Now profit after tax is 28 crore. Profit after tax is 28 crore. Now this profit after tax the company may invest or it may pay dividend. So suppose this 28 crore company invested 20 crore and 8 crore it is planning to pay dividend. 8 crore company is planning to pay dividend. Now if company is planning to pay 8 crore dividend, first it will have to pay tax on this. Government imposes tax on this 8 crore. So around 15%. Around 15%. So 15% of 8 crore will be equal to 1.2 crore. This is called dividend distribution tax. If the company is planning to distribute 8 crore in dividends, first it will have to pay 15% on this as tax. Whatever is left, it will go to the owners or surplus. So whatever dividend the company plans, first it will have to pay tax on that. Whatever is left, that will go to the owners. So on dividend, who is responsible to pay tax? Company. Now the owners got this. Are they again bound to pay tax? Yes, if the dividend is more than 10 lakh. If the dividend is more than 10 lakh, then again they need to pay tax. अच्छी बात है ना, रिच पे है टैक्स, रिच पे टैक्स है.
And that's why they are
So people pay a lot of tax,
because
and then they start expecting services from the government. अभी तो आप लोग एक भी टैक्स नहीं दे रहे हो तो जो भी मिलता है ठीक है. When you will start paying taxes, then you will become more demanding.
but because of this flow chart and money flow chart, this is the main reason for black money.
Black money has several reasons.
Look, if I have to pay again tax again and again and again, so why would I show my income?
You'll have to, so you can't avoid. If the system will become strong, you can't avoid.
So there should be a single tax like
No,
50%.
see, government wants money to run this country. It cannot survive on just imposing tax at one point. It imposes tax on several points. The only thing is, whatever is tax being imposed, it should be more on rich. It should be more on rich. Now, dividend, who is getting the dividend? Those who have established companies. So, those who have established companies, they are rich people.
I'm saying that there should be single tax like profit, on book profit.
Why government imposes tax here? So that companies, rather than paying back money to the owners, they should invest into business. They should not try to extract money out of the company. They should invest into business. So here there is no tax. If the company wants to pay to the owners, then it is tax. ठीक है. और ये ध्यान रखना, on dividend the company needs to pay tax, and that is why DDT is a direct tax. Cascading effect comes into product. इसको आप बोल सकते हो कि taxes are being imposed several times. Cascading effect क्या होता है? That will understand. Capital gain tax. Capital gain tax means, suppose you purchased a house worth rupees 1 crore. Suppose you purchased a house worth rupees 1 crore and then you are selling at 1.5 crore. So there is a gain of 50 lakhs. On that 50 lakhs you need to pay tax. See what happens when you purchase a house, which tax you pay? Property tax and stamp duty. When you purchase a house, on the value of purchase, whatever transaction value, you pay stamp duty to the state government, like 5%, 6%, 7%. This is a kind of transaction tax. So when you are buying a property worth rupees 1 crore, you'll have to purchase stamp paper worth rupees 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs. So you pay stamp duty on every transaction, real estate. You pay stamp duty. So when you are purchasing a house, you pay stamp duty. When you are holding the house, when you are holding the property, you pay property tax. And when you are selling the property, you pay capital gain tax if there is a gain. So if you purchased a house worth rupees 1 crore, you may pay 6%, 6 lakh stamp duty to the state government. When you are holding the house, 1 crore house, you are holding the house worth rupees 1 crore, 6 lakh was tax. So when you are holding the house worth rupees 1 crore, every year you will have to pay property tax as per the state government rate. It is very less, 0.02, 0.03%. And from that money, this municipal corporation of Delhi, and they clean this city. They maintain certain roads. So when you are holding the property, you need to pay property tax. And when you sell the property and if there is a gain, then on that gain you pay capital gain tax. आप लिख लो एक statement. Capital gain tax is imposed. Capital gain tax is imposed. Capital gain tax is imposed on the gain realized. Capital gain tax is imposed on the gain realized from the sale of capital. from the sale of capital. For example, real estate, shares, securities, etc. Real estate, securities, etc. ठीक है, any kind of capital you are holding. Now, property tax is imposed in urban area. इसी का equivalent is land revenue in case of rural area. So, if you have agricultural land, you are holding agricultural land, every year you will pay land revenue. If you are holding urban land and real estate, you will be paying property tax. ठीक है?
Sir, and what about those kind of villages which are urban agglomeration like Delhi and the 70s?
So, every state has demarcated their urban municipal area. If it is falling into that, then you will be paying property tax. But if the same land is under rural classification, you will be paying land revenue as such. Stamp duty specified है mainly on real estate transactions, plus certain other business transactions पे भी लगता है, उसको मानते हैं, वो exceptional cases है, but mostly it is जैसे in certain cases stamp duty is being imposed by central government also. In certain cases like bills of exchange होते हैं, documents होते हैं, उस पर we pay stamp duty also. But mostly जो stamp duty है, it is being imposed by state government on real estate transactions, building, property and this thing. कैपिटल गुड्स पे नहीं, वो क्लासिफाइड है, रियल एस्टेट, प्रॉपर्टीज, सिक्योरिटीज, बॉन्ड्स, इस पे लगता है कैपिटल गेन टैक्स इफ देयर इज अ गेन. So see, you don't need to remember all those things. They have said that capital, this category is there on which capital gain taxes will be imposed as such. नहीं, stamp duty on every real estate transaction you have to pay stamp duty, and capital gain tax if there is a gain. So I purchase 80 lakh house, I will pay stamp duty. If I am selling 80 lakh house in 50 lakh, I don't pay capital gain tax. If 80 lakh house I purchase and 1 crore I am selling, so 80 lakh pay stamp duty, then on 1 crore stamp duty and 20 lakhs 82 capital gain. Capital gain tax is imposed only on gain, and stamp duty is imposed on the value of transaction. ठीक है? So in case of real estate, transaction, you pay stamp duty. In case of securities, you pay securities transaction. See, if you purchase shares worth rupees 100, then it is a transaction purchase. You will have to pay securities transaction tax, maybe I think 0.06% kuch. So whether loss or gain doesn't matter. If you are transacting purchasing shares, you will have to pay securities transaction tax. So 100 rupees shares you purchase and then you are selling at 120 rupees. 120 pay again securities transaction tax, and the gain is 120 minus 100. So 20 rupees you will have to pay capital gain tax.
Sir, securities transaction tax is on purchase.
On transaction. जैसे for example, stamp duty is on sale of land or purchase of land? Huh? It's on transaction. देखो, let me explain you. हाँ? मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको. Suppose this building belongs to me and I am selling it to you. So when this sale happens, this sale of building, earlier on this building it was my name, and if I am selling it to him, now on the proof of the document, his name should be written. Now that proof, that paper, it needs to be purchased from the government. That paper needs to be purchased from the government. Now that paper cost may be just 50 paisa, but government collects tax on this sale through the sale of stamp paper. Government collects tax on this real estate transaction just through the sale of stamp paper. So 1 crore property, I am selling it to him. That sale should happen through a paper whose price is, so I will have to purchase a paper worth 6% of the transaction value. So I will have to purchase 6 lakh paper. 6 lakh paper pe this deal will happen. Now who purchased that 6 lakh paper doesn't matter. That sale should happen at 6 lakh paper. Now if I am selling my land, I may also purchase that paper, or I may ask him also that you purchase the paper. That sale should happen on 6 lakh paper, 6% of the value. Whether I purchase or he purchase doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So we will purchase stamp paper from the stamp department. We will purchase stamp duty indirect tax. We will purchase the stamp paper from the stamp department. The tax will be deposited in the name of stamp department, not either on my name, not either on his name. So who paid the tax? The stamp department deposited the tax. Now stamp department, either I can also purchase, he can also purchase. किसने purchase किया, that will not be on the name. He deposited the tax and he collected this on this transaction value. Now when I am selling, generally in India what happens, if I am selling, I said that you purchase. Government is just interested in tax. Who is paying, whether seller or buyer, doesn't matter as such. Transaction, every transaction stamp duty should be paid as such. If the seller is realizing gain, then seller will pay capital gain tax. That is fine. But this is a kind of, stamp duty is a kind of transaction tax on real estate. This is a kind of transaction tax on securities. इस रियल एस्टेट केस में बायर पेज, रियल एस्टेट केस में बायर पेज. Convention, see, this is, that's why I am saying this is indirect tax. This is indirect tax. Now we are doing a transaction, real estate. Who purchased doesn't matter, government will get the tax. In whose name government will get the tax? The stamp department. The stamp department. ठीक है. So that's why I said कि stamp duty is a kind of transaction tax on real estate. On real estate. STT is a kind of transaction tax on securities. Burden of? Direct tax है. ठीक है. The person who sells as such, he bears. Of course होता है ना. That's why there are a lot of illegal cash dealings. Illegal cash dealings happen. Securities transaction tax, direct tax. Listen carefully, securities transaction tax, direct tax, stamp duty indirect tax, that is deposited by the Bombay Stock Exchange. ठीक है. Securities के transaction on financial security, you have read bond shares. You have read bond shares. उस पे लगता है जब when you transact.
So by convention, who pays this tax?
Capital market, stock trading.
The brokers.
on whose behalf this trading is happening, Bombay Stock Exchange, they pay as such this tax. They, of course, they deduct from us. They deduct from. And why this has been done? Generally, government wants these transactions to be long term. Government don't want you to every time buy and sell. Every time buy and sell. Earlier it was not there. But now every time you are just trading, there is a transaction tax. समझ गए? Right.
Then it would also have been an indirect tax. Because there is stamp.
अच्छा, why stamp duty is indirect tax? देखो, stamp duty I purchase from a stamp department, or I can purchase from a shop also. I can purchase from a shop also. Now I purchase stamp paper or he purchases stamp paper, we are doing a transaction. Burden is on me. Burden is on me, and he is paying the tax as such. Indirect tax. Burden is on me and he is paying the tax. तो indirect tax is stamp duty. ऐसा नहीं कि डिपार्टमेंट है तो even if stamp department is depositing the tax to government, stamp department is a different entity. Stamp department is a different entity, and government of India where tax is being deposited, that is a different entity. Clear हो गया? तो stamp duty is an indirect tax as such. देखो आप समझो एक चीज, जैसे DDT, डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टैक्स, डायरेक्ट टैक्स. यू मे फील दैट कि भाई हमको डिविडेंड मिलना था, राइट, एंड गवर्नमेंट को हमें पे करना है DDT, डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टैक्स. इफ आई एम द ओनर ऑफ द कंपनी, आई एम गेटिंग डिविडेंड, बट वी नीड टू पे DDT, डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टैक्स. टैक्स बर्डन इज ऑन मी? हाँ नहीं, डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टैक्स, टैक्स बर्डन इज नॉट इन मी. किसका प्रॉफिट था? कंपनी का. कंपनी इनकर्ड द प्रॉफिट, एंड ऑन दैट प्रॉफिट कॉर्पोरेट इनकम टैक्स पे हुआ. इफ द कंपनी प्लान्स टू गिव 20 crore एज डिविडेंड, if the company plans to give 20 crore as dividend, company needs to pay tax. So burden is on company. Owners will just feel that they have got this much of dividend. So dividend distribution tax, we say that it is applicable in the hands of the company. In the same way, this is applicable in the hands of the Bombay Stock Exchange. तो हमें जो डिविडेंड मिल रहा है वो बर्डन हमारे ऊपर नहीं है. फर्स्ट कंपनी इटसेल्फ पेड, कंपनी इनकर्ड द बर्डन. If we are getting less dividend because company paid dividend distribution tax, burden is on company. We will just feel that we have got this much of dividend. So DDT is a direct tax. थोड़ा एक बार में डाइजेस्ट करने में इट्स लिटिल बिट डिफिकल्ट होता है, but if you think like that, you will be able to understand.
But the transaction tax of stamp, what are the transaction tax and why these two are classified as two different transactions?
Because impose different तरीके से होता है.
But if you look at this security transaction tax, there is one transaction, like if I am buying a share at 50%.
So the market regulator has been asked that whatever is the transaction, you have to pay tax.
Same in the case with the stamp duty. Suppose if I am buying the land, then there is a one-to-one transaction between you and me.
See, in case of stamp duty, the burden is on me if I am purchasing. ठीक है, the burden is on me, and stamp department has to deposit the tax. Stamp department has to deposit the tax. In case of this, we have made this tax applicable that whatever securities are being transacted through stock exchanges, stock brokers, this Bombay Stock Exchange also acts as a company. Bombay Stock Exchange listed या नहीं है? Bombay Stock Exchange itself is listed. ये accept कर पाते हो? Because Bombay Stock Exchange is again profitable. Bombay Stock Exchange or any other stock exchange, all these stock exchange, they allow transaction from their stock. They are providing a kind of platform, so they are also profitable. So it is paid in their name and they incur the burden that on every security whatever is being transacted you have to pay tax. नहीं, indirect tax से उन्हीं के ऊपर burden होता है and they deposit in their name.
They are giving the burden to the person who is purchasing or selling this there. The same is also happening in the indirect tax also. If like the company.
अच्छा, DDT में do you accept this? Dividend distribution tax. Whatever, see, suppose I am allowing some transaction. Now government says to me that whatever transaction is happening through your exchange, ठीक है, whatever transaction is happening through your exchange, you have to pay tax on that. So in this case, stock exchange incurs the burden and it is deposited in their name. Excise duty. Right. हाँ. Right. अरे शेयर्स डूब गए तो that value of transaction will be less ना. आप कंफ्यूज कर रहे हो डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन टैक्स और इसमें. शेयर्स अगर क्रैश करके डूब गए देन एसटीटी विल बी जीरो. वो तो वैल्यू ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन पे है ना. On every transaction you have to pay tax. On every transaction you have to pay tax. ये नहीं कि जो it is in case of capital gain tax, two transactions determine the capital gain. In case of capital gain, two transactions determine the capital gain, last transaction and this transaction. But stamp duty is imposed on every transaction. Whether loss or gain doesn't matter as such. Securities transaction tax is imposed on every transaction of securities, or loss or gain doesn't matter. It's based on transaction, not ki how much you gained or how much you lost. बताऊंगा, आप आगे क्लास के बाद पूछना बताएं कि क्यों सेलर पे आता है. एक्साइज ड्यूटी. हाँ. So capital gain tax, see, government always wants that transactions or investments should be long term. Government wants to promote long term investments. Now government don't want you that you should purchase shares right now and then you should sell. So generally, now it is different classification. Generally, government wants long term transactions, long term investment. So government says that if you will be doing long term capital gain, suppose I purchase shares today and sold after 10 years. So this is long term. So government imposes less tax on long term capital gain. Government imposes more tax on short term capital gain. हाँ, now you don't need to remember कि कितने period पे होता है, because on different instruments this long term and short term changes. On different instruments this long term and short term definition changes. Earlier shares long term capital gain tax was not imposed. Shares के case में it was 1 year. So ये long term short term में time period नहीं याद रखना, because it varies depending on the instrument, and no one can ask you that इस case में what is the long term, what is the short term. ऐसे time period different instruments में. In India earlier we were not imposing long term capital gain tax in case of shares, securities. Now we have imposed. So a lot of investors were worried because investors come here when they are investing for long term more than 1 year, they were not paying capital gain tax, but now they are bound to pay as such, which was introduced last year.
मैंने कोई प्रॉपर्टी सेल की और सेम अमाउंट की दूसरी प्रॉपर्टी खरीदी तो मैं कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स से बच सकता हूँ?
हाँ, so this year's budget provision में है. So suppose I purchase real estate के केस में है सच, ठीक है. If I purchase real estate 1 crore, sold it in 1.5 crore, तो 50 lakhs का gain है. If I use this money to purchase a new house, then I will not have to pay capital gain tax. तो पहले it was allowed for only one house. Now I can use this capital gain in the purchase of 2 houses. Now, in the purchase of 2 houses, this has been allowed in this year budget. ठीक. Now there is a second case, whatever is asking notional. तो इसी के साथ मैं budget के provision से बता देता हूँ. If I am owning 2 houses, and एक घर में मैं रहता हूँ, एक घर मेरा idle पड़ा हुआ है, or I have given to someone else and I am receiving rent in cash, ठीक है. Government don't have any record that I am getting rent or not, because I am receiving cash. So earlier there was notional tax on rent. So government, now that property which I am holding, 2 houses I am holding, now the property which I am holding, government knows its value as per this property tax and transactions. So government used to impose tax on notional rent. That means government used to calculate its own rent based on the property value, and government used to impose tax whether you have rented out or not. You will have to pay tax on some nominal amount which government thinks of that it will be the rent of that house, because you are holding a property as such, right? Now government in this year budget has said that if you are holding 2 houses, no tax will be imposed on notional rent, but if you are holding third house, then tax on notional rent will be imposed. So if you are holding a third house, if you are earning rent through online mode, of course you will be paying tax as per the normal personal income tax slabs. But if you are not receiving rent in terms of online or digital method, if you are taking cash, then also you need to pay tax on the notional rent calculated by the government. On third house, not on 2 houses. Because, and what the logic given by government is, कि 2 houses, a lot of families, बच्चे कहीं और रहते हैं, यहाँ रहते हैं, तो they occupy, they consume this thing. Of course लगता है. Property tax is imposed because you are holding the property, and capital gain transaction if you are gaining it. इसी से तो आपके म्युनिसिपैलिटी वाले सब सफाई वफाई सब करते हैं. Excise duty. Excise duty is imposed on manufactured items. Excise duty is imposed on manufactured items. ठीक है, एंड प्रोसेसिंग इज अ पार्ट ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, प्रोसेसिंग हो रहा है, जैसे ब्रेड है, नाउ ब्रेड इज ऑल्सो मैन्युफैक्चर्ड आइटम, ठीक है, सो एक्साइज ड्यूटी इज इम्पोज्ड ऑन मैन्युफैक्चर्ड गुड्स. Customs duty is imposed on export and import of goods. Customs duty is imposed on export and import of goods. Now exports we have totally exempted. Almost all the goods have been exempted from customs duty, but officially on paper customs duty can be imposed on exports and imports both of goods. Service tax on sale of services. Service tax on sale of services. So when SR Private Limited is selling services, educational services, it collects tax from you. It collects tax from you. Collect किया है ना? It collects tax from you and it pays. Central sales tax थोड़ी देर में आप समझोगे. Luxury tax and entertainment tax state specific होता है. If certain states think that this activity is a luxury thing, then they may impose. For example, in certain, now it is state specific, किसी state में होगा and some states may not have. For example, जैसे suppose you hotel में आप गए, तो if the rent per day rent is more than 10,000, then they may impose a luxury tax on that. Entertainment, movies पे लगता था. Now नहीं लगता, ये 30th जून यहाँ अभी नहीं लिखे, भूल गए. Earlier ठीक है, लग्जरी एंड एंटरटेनमेंट स्टैम्प ड्यूटी आप समझ गए. एंट्री टैक्स यूज टू बी इम्पोज्ड टिल 30 जून. एंट्री टैक्स यूज टू बी इम्पोज्ड व्हेन द गुड्स यूज टू एंटर फ्रॉम वन स्टेट टू अनदर स्टेट एंड द डेस्टिनेशन स्टेट्स यूज टू कलेक्ट एंट्री टैक्स ऑन द वैल्यू ऑफ गुड्स लोडेड ऑन द ट्रक. डेस्टिनेशन एंट्री टैक्स इज इम्पोज्ड इन केस ऑफ movement of goods interstate, one state to another state, and destination state used to collect tax on the value of goods loaded in the truck.
Or multiple states have across.
So multiple states. If a good is entering in my state, I will impose. So every state used to impose, and it was creating a huge issues. These trucks used to stop at the check post, toll gate नहीं, check post. ठीक है? Now this sales tax and VAT, ध्यान सुना आप, sales tax was replaced by VAT in most of the states in 2005. Sales tax used to be imposed on sale of goods within the state. So A sold something to B, suppose it is UP, A sold something to B. So sales tax used to be imposed on sale of goods within the state. It was replaced by VAT. So after 2005, VAT used to be imposed on sale of goods within the state. So sales tax and VAT purpose and logic is same. Sales tax also used to be imposed on sale of goods within the state. VAT is also imposed on sale of goods within the state only. Mechanism is different. That will understand. बट दोनों सेल ऑफ गुड्स पे लगते थे विद इन द स्टेट्स. mechanism has changed, that will understand. Now if this is MP, so if C is selling something to D, so VAT will be imposed. If D is selling something to A, CST will be imposed, central sales tax. So central sales tax used to be imposed on sale of goods across the state. Across the state में VAT नहीं लगता था, central sales tax. So VAT within state on sale of goods, CST across the state on sale of goods, not on services. ठीक है? एंट्री टैक्स तो लगेगा ही ना. देखो आप समझो एक चीज, ध्यान से सुनो. इफ डी सोल्ड समथिंग टू ए, अक्रॉस द स्टेट सेल है, तो सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स लगता था. इफ डी इज मूविंग हिज गुड्स फ्रॉम one state, ये भी D है. D, there is not, it is not sale, it is just movement of goods. So CST will not be imposed, but entry tax this state will collect. So entry tax is not on sale, it is just entry from one state to another state, and central sales tax is on sale. And this central sales tax used to be levied by center, but center has asked the originating state that you only collect CST and you keep it. Central sales tax levied by center and collected by the origin state. So if D is selling something to C here, D used to collect CST from C and used to pay to the MP government. ठीक है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट रख लेती है. तो लेविड ऑन पे, लेवी मतलब हु हैज अथॉरिटी टू इम्पोज एंड कलेक्टेड मींस हु इज एडमिनिस्ट्रिंग दैट. सेल में हाँ, तो सेल अगर हो रहा है ना तो एंट्री टैक्स तो लगेगा ही, और सेल्स टैक्स सीएसटी भी लगेगा. हाँ, एंड इफ डी टू डी जा रहा है, डी इज ट्रांसपोर्टिंग सम ऑफ इट्स गुड्स फ्रॉम दिस गोडाउन टू दिस गोडाउन, ओनली एंट्री टैक्स, नो सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स. सेल मतलब इट इज फ्रॉम वन एंटिटी टू अनदर एंटिटी हो गया. डिफरेंट एंटिटी स्टेट स्पेसिफिक हो गया, दे कैन हैव एनी रेट. जैसे स्टैम्प ड्यूटी है, डिफरेंट रेट. टोल टैक्स कौन कलेक्ट करता है? टोल इज नॉट अ काइंड ऑफ टैक्स, वो प्राइवेट एजेंसीज भी कलेक्ट करती हैं. वो चार्ज है, फी है, वो चार्ज है, फी है. और इवन यू गो इन अनदर स्टेट फॉर ट्रेवलिंग और घूमने जाते हो विथ येलो प्लेट, तो डू यू पे एनी टैक्स? व्हाइट पे तो नहीं लेते हैं ऐसे. हम लोग भी हिमाचल गए कार से, हमसे तो नहीं लिए, मतलब ठीक है. हाँ, येलो प्लेट से दे डेफिनेटली टेक इट, ठीक है. कभी दिया है किसी ने? कार से उत्तराखंड घूमने चले जाओ, उबर बुक करो एंड उबर बुक करो और चले जाओ, दे विल कलेक्ट टैक्स. व्हाट इज दैट टैक्स? एंट्री टैक्स, सुनो, एंट्री टैक्स used to be imposed on movement of goods and movement of people. ठीक है, movement of goods also, movement of people also. Now movement of goods वाला part GST में आ गया, but movement of people पे it is still there. समझ गए? So states collect entry tax on passenger movement also and goods movement also. Goods movement, now all this has been subsumed under GST. GST में this has not been subsumed and this has not been subsumed. They are still there. All other taxes have been subsumed. एंट्री टैक्स कब लगता है? हाँ, और टोल, toll tax is collected by government. Toll are the charges, it may be collected by the private road contractor who has built the road and who is operating the road. वो charge है, user fee है, and this is tax. किस पे, कौन सा टैक्स? देखो, these are all state specific. They are all state specific. They can impose these taxes on anything, but generally services पे लगता था. Generally services पे लगता था. ठीक है, but a state is free to impose, but भाई a state में suppose any particular state has designed a new tax, कुछ भी लगा सकता है इससे. Now we are going to understand why this sales tax was replaced by VAT. ठीक है, because that is the crux of GST. So let's understand why sales tax in 2005 was replaced by VAT, because only through that way you can understand GST. क्या कोई डाउट है तो बताओ। अरे बताओ क्या डिस्कस कर रहे हो।
Sir, when you say entry tax is collected on goods and people, why don't you use services? Because it's a service of
In which case?
entry tax.
Entry tax used to be imposed on movement of goods from one state to another state and movement of people.
When you said yellow number plate, it's a service.
No. अरे येलो वो तो क्लास के बाद मिलना समझाते हैं आपको। It is movement on passenger yellow white plate पे we can always say that हमारे यहाँ रिलेटिव रहते हैं, हम घूमने नहीं जा रहे हैं, हम कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं, हम ऐसे जा रहे हैं। बट येलो प्लेट, येलो जैसे ही सेज ना कि व्हाइट प्लेट पे भी लगा देते हैं, ऑफ कोर्स ऑन एवरी मूवमेंट ऑफ पीपल फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू उस पे लगना चाहिए। बट हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू सेग्रीगेट दिस थिंग, डिफरेंशिएट कि इस पे लगेगा नहीं लगेगा। सो येलो प्लेट इज द बेस्ट थिंग, दैट येलो प्लेट यू आर गोइंग, दैट मीन्स इट्स फॉर कमर्शियल पर्पज, वन स्टेट पीपल इज मूविंग इनटू अनदर स्टेट, तो वो बेस्ट तरीका है लगाने का एज सच। बट लगना तो एज सच व्हाइट प्लेट पे भी लगना चाहिए। हाँ हो सकता है, दैट इज फाइन, दैट आई सो अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम, सो दैट इज वाई वो ठेले वाले टैक्स नहीं पे कर रहे हैं, हम टैक्स पे कर रहे हैं, हमसे वो ज्यादा कमाते हैं। सो देयर इज शुड बी अ वे ऑफ सेग्रीगेशन, सो दैट इज येलो प्लेट क्या है, अपने कार के प्लेट को येलो कर दो। कमर्शियल अब ऐसे तो आप पर्सनल पर्पस के लिए भी येलो प्लेट से जाते हो ऐसे। ये जो येलो आई सेड कि येलो प्लेट व्हेन यू आर मूविंग फ्रॉम वन स्टेट टू अनदर स्टेट, ठीक है, इट इज नॉट ऑन बेसिकली ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सर्विसेज। समझो आप ध्यान से सुनना, आप जब इतना आप लोग घुसना ही चाहते हो तो Uber transported you from Delhi to Uttarakhand, ठीक। So Uber charged you some fees, transportation charges. Now that transportation is a service. So Uber suppose billed you 1000 rupees, Delhi to Dehradun, 1000 rupees. So this Uber is selling transportation services, so Uber should charge you 1000 rupees plus service tax from you. Service tax it will pay to the central government. Okay, fine. Now this is a movement of people from one state to another. So every state had designed their tax laws such that they also used to impose tax when the people used to move into their state, when the people used to enter into their state, and not that is not imposed on every individual basis through whatever car they are entering, उसके थ्रू वो इम्पोज करते थे, बट इट वॉज ऑन द एंट्री ऑफ द पीपल। एंड जो दूसरा गुड्स के लिए था, गुड्स के लिए भी एंट्री टैक्स लगता, पीपल के लिए भी एंट्री लगता, तो इट इज नॉट फॉर दैट सर्विसेज एज सच। सर्विसेज पे तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट यूज टू कलेक्ट सर्विस टैक्स ऑन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इज अ सर्विस, बट व्हेन यू मूव फ्रॉम दिल्ली टू उत्तराखंड, अ पर्सन इज एंटरिंग फ्रॉम वन स्टेट टू अनदर स्टेट, उस पर टैक्स लगता था। व्हेन सम ट्रांसपोर्टर ऑपरेटर moved its goods from Delhi to Uttarakhand, so he is already collecting service tax and paying to the central government. But since goods are entering from one state to another state, so on just entry of goods, entry tax is to be. So that has now been subsumed under GST. But a passenger वाला तो है रहेगा, because GST goods and services tax.
So when it apply on people, isn't it a violation of fundamental right, because
freedom,
because when you means reason
कुछ दिन के लिए इंडिया की सारी फ्रीडम खत्म करके ना, पहले हम लोग को थोड़ा कुछ कंट्री को डेवलप करने के बाद ये फ्रीडम के चक्कर में हम लोग बहुत बर्बाद हुए हैं। तो आप वो पॉलिटी में डिस्कस करना। सेल्स टैक्स 10%, फ्रीडम का हम लोग नाजायज बेनिफिट उठा रहे हैं, ठीक है। सेल्स टैक्स, so what we are going to understand, why sales tax was replaced by VAT, and please understand it carefully, because if you will not understand this, you won't be able to understand GST, और GST के जितने doubts हैं, you have to clarify it here, not after the class. ठीक है? So pen paper रख दो and try to understand. A, B, consumer, sales tax 10%. Suppose its value addition is 10, 100. B's value addition 200. When you are purchasing Maggi from the retail shop, Maggi packet 10 rupees का, is that retail shopkeeper doing any value addition or not?
Yes.
सोच लो.
He is doing
Directly, indirectly वो आप सोचो. मेरे क्वेश्चन का आंसर yes or no. When you purchased Maggi from the retail shop, is retail shopkeeper, that businessman, is he doing any value addition? How many of you think that he is doing value addition? And how many of you think that they don't do any value addition? ट्रांसपोर्टेशन से कोई मतलब नहीं इसका. Suppose there is no tax. Suppose there is no tax on Maggi. No tax on Maggi. Nestle, wholesaler, retailer, and the price is rupees 10. No tax and price is rupees 10. How much Nestle kept? For example, कुछ भी बताओ. 5,
7,
2. अरे भाई जब 10 आप पे किए, 2 ये रखे, बाकी कहाँ? कितना? ठीक है, कुछ ना कुछ रखेगा. Whatever retailer keeps for himself, that is his value addition. Whatever retailer keeps for himself, that is his value addition. Value addition doesn't mean कि आप उसको कुछ तोड़ मोड़ के कुछ बना रहे हो. Whatever he charges for his work, he purchased in 7 and sold it in 10. That means his value for his work he is charging rupees 3. He is doing value addition. देखो MRP वहाँ पे एक सेकेंड MRP की बात नहीं करो. I don't know what is MRP. Printed at 10 rupees. You paid 10 rupees, right? You paid 10 rupees. That means, and this 10 rupees, this chain is this. Suppose how much he kept? 2. What is value addition? तो क्या डिफरेंस है पहले और इसमें? कोई व्हाट इज योर डाउट? ये चीज आपको डाइजेस्ट करनी पड़ेगी. क्या चीज? अरे एमआरपी क्यों डिस्कस करते हैं आप लोग? आई सेड कि प्रिंटेड रुपीज 10 है. इफ यू विल डायरेक्टली गो टू द होलसेलर एंड परचेज, दैट मीन्स दिस इज नॉट देयर. इफ यू विल परचेज फ्रॉम हिम, सो वो कम में दे देगा. So now there is no retailer involved. But if you are purchasing from retailer, retailer must keep something for himself. So his value addition is 2. That doesn't mean he should do something with the Maggi packet. Whatever he charges for his work. Right? I am again and again saying, don't go, we'll come to that MRP, we'll discuss that case also. Just to clarify that value addition thing, I said ki no tax. I said no tax. We'll come to that. उसको समझाने के लिए I will have to take another example. नेस्ले होलसेलर रिटेलर 532, हाँ, व्हाट इज योर डाउट?
तो नेस्ले वाले ने होलसेलर को कितने में 8 में बेचे होंगे?
5 बेचेगा ना?
क्यों 5 में बेचेगा सर?
कैसे मैं समझाऊंगा जीएसटी? अरे समझ में आया? नहीं आया? कोई डाउट है? What does it mean यार? He is selling in 5 rupees, he is selling in 8 rupees, he is selling in 10 rupees. So consumer paid 10 rupees, he kept 2 rupees, he kept 3 rupees, he kept 5 rupees. आप जो भी अज्यूम कर लो सब सही है. इधर देखो, अब डाउट जब हम बोलेंगे तब पूछोगे आप लोग. दिस इज द केस. नाउ सेल्स टैक्स यूज्ड टू बी imposed on sale of goods. So A, for his work, A want rupees 100. So what A did is sale price 10, 100, sales tax 10, invoice 110 he will pay. ठीक है? Now B, at what price B will sell? See, B purchased in 110 and for his work B wants 200. So B will sell in 310. Sales tax 31. Sales tax is imposed on sale price. Sale price is 310. So invoice 341. And consumer paid 341. Now for consumer, the price of product rupees 340. Value of product is 300. Rest is taxes. Tax paid effective tax rate कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे? Official sales tax rate. Effective tax rate is higher than the official sales tax rate. Why? Two reasons. Effective tax rate is higher because this 10 rupees tax, this 10 is included here, and on that tax again sales tax 10% is being tax on tax. 100 rupees tax has been imposed. Now this 100 rupees again here and again tax is imposed. Cascading effect of tax. कौन पूछा था कैस्केडिंग इफेक्ट? हाँ, दिस इज कैस्केडिंग. एक ही चीज पे अगेन एंड एक ही प्राइस पे 100 रुपए अगेन टैक्स इज बीइंग इम्पोज्ड. बार बार टैक्स लग रहा है. कैस्केडिंग इफेक्ट. And 10 is again there, so tax on tax. Because of these two things, your effective tax rate is higher. And if this chain is longer, CD, this effective tax rate will be much higher. So government used to say just 10%, but effectively consumer was paying 15%, 20% tax. This was the problem with sales tax. समझ गए? No, on the sale price.
So on this, I mean, that I understood. So in case if the chain is longer,
Chain longer, same thing will continue. If he does value addition 300, then someone will purchase. So if he is doing value addition 300, he purchased in 341. So 341 plus 300 sales tax will be imposed. Cascading effect or tax on tax. So this was the major problem in sales tax. Clear है कोई और doubt इसमें? हाँ, we have just assumed it. We have assumed it, but it is proper accurate value. We have assumed that he wants 100 rupees. Now we replace this sales tax by VAT. क्या है? Test paper. 10% it is replaced by VAT. देखो ध्यान से सुनना, otherwise आप अभी आपको easy लग रहा है, but you will get lost here. So concentrate करो board पे. Now we are replacing this by VAT. I am going to take the same example so that you can relate. Now in VAT regime, government said that the suppliers need to pay tax only on their value addition. Not on sale, tax only on their value addition. So A should pay how much tax? 10 rupees. B should pay tax 20 rupees. B should pay tax 20 rupees. Because VAT regime says that tax will be imposed only on their value addition. So government is saying that to the supplier that you have to pay tax only on your value addition. So A, value of product 100, VAT 10, invoice ठीक है, यहां तक तो सिंपल है. How much tax B should pay? 20, because government has said that every entity should pay tax only on their value addition. So B should pay tax rupees 20. So total tax paid to the government 30. He paid on his value addition. एकदम concentrate करके यहाँ पे देखो, and he paid tax on his value addition. Now when B has to pay tax 20, and for his work B want 200, right? And he has already paid 110. So how much should B charge from the consumer? 330 के अलावा is there any other view? 330, because he has paid 110, he has to pay 20 for 330. So B charges from the consumer 300 plus 30. Out of this 300 which he charges from the consumer, 300 he keeps 200 and he gives 100. Out of this 30, 20 he pays and 10 he has given for A to be deposited. They are not paying the taxes from their pocket, they are passing on this tax burden to him. They are not paying taxes from their pocket, they are just transferring the burden to the consumer. यहाँ भी पास हो रहा था. Total value of the product 300. Total tax paid to the government 30. When every entity is paying tax on their value addition, government will get the tax on total value. When every entity is paying tax on their value addition, whatever is the total value, government will get tax VAT 10% of total value, right? अच्छा, यहाँ देखो. When B charged 330 from the consumer and out of 300 they divided, and while from this 330 rupees, while B was going to pay rupees 20 because B has already paid 10 to me. So out of this 30, B was going to pay 20. Government said कि don't pay 20, you pay entire 30. You pay entire 30. Once you give the slip that you have paid 10 and it has been deposited to government, then government, so while B was going to pay 20 rupees to the government, from this 30, B was going to pay 20 rupees. Government said to B that don't pay 20, you pay entire 30. You pay entire 30. And if you will give the proof that you have given 10, then we will give you back this 10. So effectively B paid 20 only. Let me repeat it, जो लोग नहीं ध्यान से सुने. B had to pay 20. B has already paid 10 which A has deposited. So if B had to pay 20, B has already paid 10, B will charge 300 plus 30 from the consumer because B knows that he has to pay to the government only rupees 20. So B will charge this. Now this 30 rupees tax which B charged from consumer, because he has paid 10 rupees tax to A and 20 rupees he has to deposit. So while B charged 30 rupees from the consumer and B was going to pay rupees 20, government said कि you pay entire 30 and once you give the slip proof, we will give this 10 back. So once you pay entire 30 and we will give you 10 back, so effectively वही हो रहा है ना, that B paid only 20. This is the actual mechanism through which it happens on ground. कोई difference है? See, B has to pay 20 out of this. So rather than B paying total 30 and then getting it back 10, effectively वही हो रहा है. Consumer 330 देगा भाई. किसको किसको डाउट है? किसी को डाउट नहीं है, बस एक ही लोग को डाउट है. ऐसा करा तो हाँ, ये देखो, दैट आई विल एक्सप्लेन, बट इफेक्टिवली कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. इफेक्टिवली कोई डिफरेंस तो नहीं है भाई. व्हाट गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग टू बी that you are collecting 30, 20 you are paying and 10 you have paid. So government is saying to be that you pay entire 30, you give a proof that you have given and we will give you 10 back. Why is this done? To ensure compliance. If he doesn't deposit, if A has not deposited, we will not be able to give the proof and we will not get this 10 back. So just to ensure compliance mechanism, that tax has been deposited here. If B only pays 20, suppose he doesn't deposit the tax, government is losing. But when government is saying to B that you pay entire 30, you give the proof and we'll give you back. B. समझ गए? सब लोग समझ गए? No, it is VAT. अभी जीएसटी तो क्या होता मुझे पता ही नहीं. जीएसटी अभी नहीं आया है. वी आर स्टिल बिफोर 30th June 2017. ये वैट है. नो I will tell you what is this called. क्या डाउट है बताओ. See, I want you to ask as many doubts क्योंकि if you will not understand this, you won't be able to understand GST. Compliance के लिए. If right? If A will not pay, then B will not get credit. If A will not pay, B will not purchase the goods from A. B paid 10 rupees tax on the purchase of inputs. For B it is inputs. B paid 10 rupees tax on the purchase of inputs, which the government is crediting back to B. This is called input tax credit mechanism. देखो एक बार मैं आपको और समझा रहा हूं, ध्यान से सुनना. A paid 10 rupees tax on its value addition. Now government is saying to B that you are doing 200 value addition. You have to pay 20 tax. But government said to B that you pay the tax on entire value. B has already paid 10 tax. B's value addition is 200. But government is saying to B that you pay tax on entire value, and whatever you have paid tax on previous value, that government will give back. So government is saying to B that you pay tax on 300 and 10 rupees tax which has been paid here, government will give you back. देखो, effectively government wants tax on rupees 300, 30 rupees. Effectively, government wants rupees 30 on 300. Now he has already paid 10 rupees tax which has been deposited to government. Now government is saying to B, rather than paying 20 rupees on 200, you pay 30 rupees on 300 value, and whatever tax has been given, that will give back. For example, suppose C is 300, suppose he is a and supplier, value addition 300. Value addition 300. How much total tax government will get? 60. That means government want 10% of 600. 60. Right? Now government, ये हुआ ऐसे. Now government is saying, so C is selling to the consumer. Now government is saying to C that you have already paid tax. How much? 30. So on these two values, tax has already been paid. So you should ideally pay tax on 300. But government is saying to C that you pay tax on entire value, and whatever tax has been paid on previous value addition, that government will give you back. यही तो है input tax credit mechanism. You try to understand, effectively वही हो रहा है. Practically we have implemented in this way so that to build compliance mechanism. Clear है सबको? अरे बोले तो कि कंप्लायंस मैकेनिज्म. अरे ये वैट ही तो है, मैं कहां बोला जी? नहीं, वैट वाला भी, ये क्या हम एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं? एक सेकंड. हाँ नहीं, ये हम क्या एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं? हाँ, तो आप क्या बोलो कि वैट वाले में तो ऐसा होता था? ये वैट आई एम एक्सप्लेनिंग यू. हाँ,
Tax, the tax was on the selling price.
Right.
That the tax is on the value added.
Value added.
So the difference why we moved from sales tax to VAT is like it lower the.
एक से ना, वो आप जो एनालिसिस कर रहे हो वो हम कर देते हैं. कंज्यूमर, इन दिस केस प्राइस ऑफ प्रोडक्ट, value of product, tax paid, effective tax rate, official VAT rate. Now इसमें whatever is the chain, long lengthy chain, doesn't matter, there will not be cascading effect.
So what was the reason to shifting all this?
अरे कंप्लायंस बोले तो उसमें एक तो ये प्रोडक्ट्स इज बिकमिंग कॉस्टलियर, डिमांड विल बी लेस, हियर नो कैस्केडिंग इफेक्ट, इनबिल्ट कंप्लायंस मैकेनिज्म. मतलब पूछ के ही रहोगे कुछ ना कुछ. चीपर प्रोडक्ट, प्राइस चीप, डिमांड विल बी मोर. अरे मैं जीएसटी कहाँ आया अभी यार? 2005 में आप क्या कर रहे थे? 5th क्लास, 2nd क्लास? मैं बोला 2005 के बाद आया. आप लोग के दिमाग में जीएसटी घुसा हुआ, केवल नाम अभी समझे नहीं हो. और जीएसटी, आई एम सेइंग कि आई एम डिस्कसिंग व्हाई वैट केम, व्हाई वी रिप्लेस सेल्स टैक्स.
There are other reasons also, sir. Only for just compliance.
कंप्लायंस, प्रोडक्ट प्राइस बिकमिंग चीपर, टैक्स अवॉइडेंस रिड्यूसिंग, ये कम है पूरे देश के लिए. एंड व्हाई वी ब्रॉट इन जीएसटी?
For compliance.
ये आप लिख लो.
But sir, when government getting more tax, then by
Government is not getting more tax. These guys were not paying taxes. ये टैक्स कलेक्ट करके देते नहीं थे.
this was the reason.
And product was costlier, consumer was consuming less, demand less, economic growth less. ये लिख लो. और जिसको नहीं डाउट है इसमें, अभी भी आप पूछ सकते हो रेलिवेंट डाउट्स. पॉकेट से निकाल दो. अभी 2 महीना पहले मैं अपना बिजनेस चला रहा था. हर महीने नेट बैंकिंग से लॉग इन करके आई यूज्ड टू पे. व्हाट एल्स डू यू वांट टू नो? कैसे शॉपकीपर पे कहते हैं? शॉपकीपर लॉग इन आईडी से लॉग इन करते हैं. हाँ, they pay, they whatever money they deposit in their account, and from account they pay. और जाके जमा भी करते हैं, ऑफलाइन जाते हैं, कैश लेके जाते हैं, then they deposit tax. मतलब क्लास करना है हो? ये ऑलरेडी 1.5 आवर से चल रही है क्लास. चलो कोई बात नहीं, लेट हो आप. आप किस बैच में हो? अच्छा, आपका एक टॉपिक छूट उठ गया था कुछ, तो अभी आपको तो ये समझ में आएगा नहीं, ऑलरेडी को बहुत सारा चीज बीत चुका है. चलो कोई नहीं, अब बैठो. जल्दी से लिखो. लिख लिए? क्या बात. पूछता है, आई विल टेल यू. तब तक ये नहीं मिलेगा. तो ये मिलेगा ही नहीं. हाँ, तो बी का लॉस है. तो B has to ensure that he deposits and give the slip. हाँ, अगर नहीं देगा ना, सो देखो इधर, सपोज दिस इज SR प्राइवेट लिमिटेड. Now SR private limited is purchasing the chairs and selling educational services. So when SR private limited is purchasing the chairs, or in this case SR प्राइवेट, मैं आपको एक्चुअल बताता हूं कि क्या हो रहा है. SR प्राइवेट लिमिटेड is purchasing the services of Vivek Singh. SR Private Limited, this is Vivek, this is SR Private Limited. SR Private Limited is purchasing the services of Vivek Singh and using it to sell educational services to you. ठीक है, समझ रहे हो? SR Private Limited is purchasing consultancy services right now from Vivek. So whatever is my fees, SR Private Limited pays that plus VAT. And SR Private Limited says that you give this slip to me. If you will not give, we will fire you and we will hire someone else. So SR Private Limited is paying fees to Vivek, but it has said that you must deposit and give this slip to us. If I will not deposit, then they will stop paying me salary. ठीक है, लिख लो आप एक स्टेटमेंट. टैक्सेस पेड बाय बी, टैक्सेस पेड बाय बी दैट इज ₹10 ऑन द परचेज ऑफ इनपुट्स. आज की क्लास में आपको कुछ समझ में नहीं आ पाएगा, इट्स ऑलरेडी काफी चल रहा है. मे बी फ्रॉम टुमारो ऑनवर्ड्स यू विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड. ठीक, बैठना तो आप बैठ जाओ, बट डिफिकल्ट हो गए. टैक्सेस पेड बाय बी दैट इज ₹10 on the purchase of inputs from A is credited back to B, is credited back to B by the government, is credited back to B by the government, full stop. This is called input tax credit mechanism. This is called input tax credit mechanism. और इसका how do we prepare this bill? This way bill is prepared. So government is saying to be that you pay the tax on entire value and will give you 10 rupees back. See, in this case government is saying to be that you pay the tax on entire value, don't pass this 10 rupees to consumer, we will pay back. So he collects tax on 300 rupees. B has paid 10 rupees tax. If government will not give this 10 rupees back, B will try to charge 10 rupees from the consumer, pass on the consumer. But government said to B that we will give this 10 rupees back and you pay tax on entire value. So B pays tax on 300 and B gets 10 rupees back. ये स्टेटमेंट समझने में थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा आपको. इफेक्टिवली हो वही रहा है, बट द बिल इज प्रिपेयर्ड इन दिस वे. देखो है सिंपल. इफ यू ट्राई टू विजुअलाइज, every entity pays tax on their value addition. Last entity government is saying that you pay on entire value and whatever taxes you have paid will give you back. See how much B is paying tax on 300. B is paying tax on 300 and he is getting 10 rupees back. B has purchased in 110 and B is getting 10 rupees back. That's why he subtracted minus 10 and he is charging 300 this. ये आप सोच लेना थोड़ा, and then I will again explain if you have doubt on this statement, billing. Clear है? So we replaced sales tax by VAT. So VAT resolved the problem of cascading effect, है ना? VAT resolved the problem of cascading effect. Then what was the purpose of bringing GST? तो जब VAT ने problem resolve कर दिया 2005 onwards, so what was the purpose of bringing GST?
So that rate will also different in different states.
What he said is right, different तो ठीक है, that was a secondary issue. There were two major issues even after VAT. There were two major issues even after VAT, and that were, ये लिख लिया आपने? देखो, VAT resolved the problem of cascading effect within the state. VAT resolved the problem of cascading effect on sale of goods within the state. But still, what issues remained? So within the state on sale of goods, problem resolved. But suppose A is selling something to B. A value addition 100. Now what he writes is value of product 100, VAT, value of product 100. Suppose A is doing manufacturing. A is doing manufacturing. So central government imposes excise duty. Excise duty. Suppose 10%. So 10 हो गया. Now VAT. So VAT used to be imposed on 100 plus 10. So price of the product is 120. So still we have tax on tax. So VAT rate 10%, excise rate 10%, but effective tax rate 21%. So still we had cascading effect. See, we have federal system, central government imposes its own taxes, state government imposes its own taxes. Now VAT resolved the problem at state level. Now state level cascading effect resolved. But since central government is imposing its own tax, state government is imposing its own VAT, and both taxes were not adjusting against each other, rather creating tax on tax. So even after VAT, we had cascading effect tax on tax. Because VAT resolved the problem of cascading effect only within the state on state taxes, not on central taxes. तो एक ये मेजर रीजन था, इशू था इवन आफ्टर VAT, and the second issue was so that is why when earlier you were eating burgers, state used to impose its VAT and center used to impose its service tax. Center used to impose its service tax and state used to impose its VAT. So center used to impose its CST, excise and service tax. States used to impose VAT. So all were creating cascading. ठीक है, तो एक तो ये प्रॉब्लम था कि सेंटर एंड स्टेट दे वर इम्पोजिंग सेपरेट टैक्सेस and they were not adjusting against each other, rather creating tax on tax. Second major issue क्या था? Second issue, देखो जीएसटी समझाने की जरूरत नहीं. इफ यू नो द रियल प्रॉब्लम कि व्हाट वाज द प्रॉब्लम बिफोर जीएसटी, देन यू विल ऑटोमेटिकली अंडरस्टैंड. सो एक प्रॉब्लम आपको समझ में आ गई. सपोज ठीक है, ए सोर्स समथिंग टू बी, मैं पूरा बिल नहीं बनाऊंगा. वैट सपोज 10% एंड सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स 2%. इंटर स्टेट में सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स. सो 10 100 प्लस 10, ए डिपॉजिटेड rupees 10. Now when B will sell to C, which tax will be imposed? Central sales tax. देखो on these products if it is manufacturing, excise duty भी लगेगा, and excise duty का impact on cascading effect we have already understood. Now I am not going to impose excise duty because it will make this example very complex and you won't be able to understand. But just assume कर लो कि excise duty का तो impact आप समझ गए, and if it will have excise duty, that will automatically create cascading effect. We are trying to understand the second problem. ठीक है, तो I am just ignoring excise. Now when B is selling to C, now B purchased in 110, cost of inputs 110 है, and B value addition 200, इस पे CST लग, and so ये हो गया 310, ये हो गया 310, then CST 2%, 6.2, so ये पे करता था 310 plus 6.2 and B will pay rupees 6.2. This is central sales tax, CST, which the origin state will collect. एंट्री टैक्स या एक्साइज मत लाओ इसमें, एंट्री टैक्स तो लगेगा ही लगेगा. इट विल कॉम्प्लिकेट द थिंग्स. एंट्री टैक्स तो एक एडिशनल टैक्स था, वो तो क्रिएट करता ही था प्रॉब्लम, वो क्रिएट करेगा प्रॉब्लम एज सच. वैट नहीं आता इंटर स्टेट में, वैट नहीं लगता, वो स्टेट के अंदर ही लगता. इंटर स्टेट में नो वैट, ओनली सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स. ठीक है, वैट नहीं लगता. Now see here, when C will sell to the consumer, ध्यान से देखो इधर, C has purchased in 316.2. So इस 316.2 में how much VAT is involved? 10 is VAT. This is VAT. This is VAT and this is CST. So C has purchased this product. देखो अब ध्यान से समझो. Here I didn't subtract -10. Here, government will not pay 10 rupees credit here. Why? Government previous हम देखे थे कि VAT का credit मिला. Here the government will not pay credit because VAT credit is given only for VAT paid. He is paying CST. He will not get VAT credit. And since he will not get credit, that's why I didn't subtract VAT credit -10, which I did in a previous exam. ठीक. Now C, how much C has paid VAT? 10 rupees he has paid VAT till now. Now for C, cost, देखो आप एक बार ये समझ लो, even you forget all this billing doesn't matter, you should have that clarity कि how it was creating problem. ये billing आपको जरूरत नहीं बनाने की है सर, but with this example you will be able to understand this full picture. So cost of inputs is equal to 316.2. Value addition 300. VAT credit माइनस 10. He has paid only 10 rupees as VAT. ये 6.2 तो CST है, इसका क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. He has paid only VAT 10 rupees. नहीं, यही मैकेनिज्म था. इंटरेस्ट रेट पे वैट नहीं लगता, इंटरेस्ट रेट पे नो वैट. सो वैट क्रेडिट माइनस 10. सो वैल्यू हो गया ये 600, 6.2, वैट 60.62. So now C will first pay 60.62 and how much he will get? 10. So C paid 60.62. देखो इधर C paid 60.62 and while C was asking 10 rupees back from Bihar government said that कि you paid 10 rupees to UP government, we will not give you back. We will not give you back. So when Bihar government says that we will not give you back, he passes this 10 rupees burden to the consumer and he writes here 0, VAT credit 0. And if that becomes 0, this becomes 616.2, 61.62. This becomes 616.2 plus 61.62 and he pays 61.62. So now you try to understand. ध्यान से देखो, on that 10 rupees VAT, again VAT is, इसमें 10 rupees है. देखो, the first problem which we discussed, that center imposing its own tax, state imposing its own tax, cascading effect, वो example है 6.2 का. Center is imposing CST, center is imposing CST 6.2 and on that 6.2 we have again VAT. ये पहला problem. Second problem, 10 rupees VAT has already been paid. That 10 rupees is here. On that VAT again there is VAT. Since in case of interstate transactions, this state is not giving the credit of VAT which was paid in the previous state. Even in case of VAT, even in case of, forget about all the central taxes, even in case of VAT, in case of interstate, there was tax on tax and cascading. On 10 rupees VAT, tax is being imposed and on this 300, 100 rupees VAT has already been paid. On 100 rupees again VAT is being imposed. समझ गया? रिपीट कर दें. दो मिनट देख लो फिर रिपीट करते हैं. तो सोचो. पहले 2 मिनट टाइम ले लो. आई विल एक्सप्लेन. Now tell me your specific doubts. B के आगे. Okay. और when I am saying कि inter-state transactions पे no VAT, only CST. Interstate transactions पे earlier states were not authorized as per your constitution to impose taxes.
लेकिन सर वैट तो इसमें ऐड तो मतलब हो रहा है ना जैसे आपका
हाँ, so your before GST your constitution said that कि on sale of goods across the state only central government can impose tax. So that is why on B2C VAT can't be imposed, only CST. हाँ, तो वैल्यू एडिशन हो रहा है बट उस पे द कॉन्सेप्ट वाज कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट विल इम्पोज टैक्स सीएसटी, वैट विल नॉट बी देयर ऑन दैट. और क्या क्या स्पेसिफिक डाउट्स हैं अकॉर्डिंगली आई विल रिपीट ना.
दो इश्यूज हैं, एक तो पहले उसे बैक नहीं मिल रहा है, मतलब जब सी पे करेगा,
राइट.
और दूसरा ये कि बैक पे ऑलरेडी लग चुका है टैक्स.
100 rupees already VAT has been paid and again C to consumer में that is being paid. So those who are thinking that अरे B2C पे VAT is not being imposed but on all this again VAT this government is collecting that. क्या डाउट है बताओ इसमें. यही समझ में नहीं आ रहा क्या डाउट है, बट लग रहा कुछ तो डाउट है. Right? B basically sells the goods and charges from C. हाँ बताओ बताओ क्या डाउट है स्पेसिफिक. भाई C is selling to consumer, C is purchasing in 316.2. तो 316.2 and C for his work C wants 300. ठीक है. He should have subtracted VAT credit minus 10. He has paid VAT. If this government would have given that 10 rupees back, he would have subtracted VAT credit minus 10. But this government says that you have paid VAT 10 rupees to UP government. We will not give you credit. So that's why C passes this 10 rupees burden to the consumer. So even after we replace sales tax by VAT, two major problems existed. First problem, लिखना पड़ेगा ना मेंस में. So first problem was state was imposing its own VAT. VAT resolved the problem on sale of goods within the state, but center was imposing its own excise, sales, service, and both were not adjusting, rather creating cascading. एक ही problem. Second problem, in case of interstate transactions, VAT credit was not applicable, which again used to create cascading effect and tax on tax. See, to consumer. वैल्यू पे लगता है बट उसका जो एप्लीकेशन है आप समझो ना, वैल्यू पे लगता है बट जो बिल बनता था they had to pay the tax on entire value and then they need to get credit. So he paid tax on entire value, but while he was asking for credit, this government denied. हाँ, -10 लिखा था. क्यों लिखा था? This -10 he would have written if he would have got credit of that, but this government denied the credit for the VAT paid in UP. So that's why he passed this burden here. But he is not going to pay that 10 rupees from his pocket. He will pass the burden to the consumer. Now,
She wants to say that why is 62, why 40? Because he has to value add his value addition is 30.
he did value addition this only.
Yeah.
But the mechanism of VAT works like he should pay tax on entire value of the product and then he should ask for the credit. So he paid tax on entire value and while he was asking for credit, this government denied. So that's why he didn't write VAT credit -10. He passed this 10 burden here also and he is paying tax on this. Mechanism works like first you pay the tax on entire value and then you get credit. He paid tax on entire value but he didn't get credit. Now if this is also Bihar, if D will sell to consumer, then D will get the entire this credit back. उतना ज़्यादा जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. ये नहीं, केवल ये मिलेगा इस स्टेट में जो पे हुआ है, वो 10 रुपीज तो गया. ये तो पास होता रहेगा. दिस गवर्नमेंट, यहाँ पे D to कंज्यूमर होगा, दिस गवर्नमेंट विल गिव क्रेडिट ओनली फॉर दिस पेड विच दिस गवर्नमेंट हैज रिसीव्ड, दैट दे विल नेवर गेट. हाँ लिख लो लिख लो. हाँ सो जितना, हाँ सो इफ देयर इज मोर चेन, so that's why even after VAT, when the goods used to pass on towards 2, 3, 4, 5 states, there was huge cascading effect. सारा कंज्यूमर पे बर्डन पड़ता है. तो कोई बिलिंग विलिंग में ज्यादा पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं, बट जस्ट दिस इज जस्ट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. ठीक है, क्या बोल रहे हो? कंज्यूमर, अरे मजबूर है कंज्यूमर. स्टेट अभी आएंगे उस पर. रिमेंबर योर डाउट विल कम. ठीक है, लिख लिए. जीएसटी का डाउट इसी क्लासरूम में रह जाएगा, समझ रहे हो ना, बाहर नहीं निकलना है. क्या बोलोगे? नहीं बोलो. लिख लिए. Now the two problems which it existed. Now what we have done in, so suppose VAT was 10% and then center used to impose its excise, CST, service tax, central sales tax. Now listen carefully, two problems were there. Now what central government is saying that now we will not impose any indirect tax. If central government says that they will not impose any indirect tax, first problem resolved, cascading effect center and state. So central government said that we will not impose any tax, and all over India was made one state, and all the states were forced to pass on the credit, whether the transaction is happening within a state or across it, doesn't matter. Credit needs to be given all across India. It was not made limited to only a single state. Second problem resolved. समझ रहे हो? Central government said that we will not impose any of its indirect taxes. So first problem resolved, जो cascading effect center and state का, and center said to all the states that whether the product is coming from one state or another state, doesn't matter. Every state has to give credit for all the transactions which are happening even in the state or across the state. So second problem also resolved. But when center said that 10% we will not impose any of its taxes, but center wants tax collection. So center said to state that you increase this rate to 20%, you increase this rate to 20%, you take 10% and give me 10%. See, when center was imposing its 10% excise, state was imposing its 10% VAT, both were creating cascading effect. But now center said that we impose once 20% and we will share 10%, 10%. Then it will not create cascading effect. So center said that you keep 10%, which became SGST, and center said that you will keep 10%, it became CGST, and this entire became GST. So GST is nothing but a value added tax. GST is nothing but a value added tax. GST means the tax imposed on goods and services. But what is the mechanism? Value added tax. GST is a value added tax. GST is imposed on value addition. वही VAT है. Now we call it GST. So rather than imposing separate taxes, 20% is imposed. They share half, so this remove the cascading effect. So now if we are saying that GST is 20%, effectively it is 20%, no cascading effect. And all over India, this credit is being seamlessly passed. No state can say that the previous GST was paid in that. No. All over India, this credit is seamlessly passed through an online GST network. So everything is now online because VAT में hard copy भी जमा होता था. Hard copy के through credit match कराना it's very difficult. So now everything is online. So to get the input tax credit is quite easy because online के through everything gets cross checked. So this is GST. ठीक है. अब एक स्टेट या दो से कोई मतलब नहीं है. There is no difference between one state or transactions happening in 2 or 3 states. Doesn't matter. Every entity has to pass on the credit of all the previous GST paid. We will take an example.
सर तो ऐसा कह सकते हैं कि अब ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट है वो सिंपल इंटरेस्ट के पे बेस्ड है, पिछला कंपाउंड उस पे मतलब
क्या एनालॉजी, ऐसा एनालॉजी दिए कि आधा लोग तो ऐसे ही कंफ्यूज कर जाएंगे क्योंकि कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट भूल चुके हैं. कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट किसको किसको याद है? CAGR क्या होता है? कंपाउंडेड एनुअल ग्रोथ रेट. बहुत बार न्यूज में आता है ना कि दिस सेक्टर इज गोइंग एट अ CAGR ऑफ 12% एंड नहीं पता. कंपाउंडेड एनुअल ग्रोथ CAGR, कंपाउंडेड एनुअल ग्रोथ रेट, पता है क्या होता है? वही कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट.
अब ये सिंपल इंटरेस्ट से
छोड़ दो, ये एनालॉजी नहीं दो प्लीज. कुछ
इंडिपेंडेंट हो गया ना सर, क्यूमुलेटिव पे क्या.
हाँ सिंपल है. अरे एक तो ऑलरेडी इसमें इतने डाउट्स हैं, आप कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट लाओगे. बार बात करें कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट. इट वाज taught in 8th class. मैथ्स ऑनर्स में ये कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट नहीं, वो अलजेब्रा एंड डिफरेंशियल कैलकुलस पढ़ाया जाता है. So let's take an example of GST. So suppose GST is 20%, SGST 10%, CGST 10%. So B will pay 100 plus 20 na? Now what? I will just prepare one bill. B, cost of inputs 120. Value addition 200. See, have you understood that concept? Every entity has to pay tax on their value addition. But now government says to be that, while B is paying tax, government is saying to be that, you pay tax on full value and whatever tax was paid on this value will give you back. So government is saying to be that you pay tax on 300. You pay tax on 300 and will give you this back. So that's why he write GST credit minus 20, because he knows that he will get it back. Minus 20. So value of product 300, GST 30, 60, invoice 360, 300 plus 60. So B pays first 60 and B gets back 20. So B effectively paid SGST 20, CGST 20. Same thing happens here also. C pays SGST 300 pay 10%, 10%. So basically C collects how much from the consumer? By C has to pay 60, यहाँ पे 40 पे हुआ 20, 20, 40, 60, 120, 300, 200, 100, 600. So C will collect 600 plus 120. While C was going to pay only 60, government said that you pay entire 120, we will give you back 60. So C effectively paid this to the government. बहुत simple है. Now this will keep on, doesn't matter in how many states, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Every state has to pass on this credit. ठीक है? Now suppose CGST सेंट्रल को कितना मिलेगा? 60. हम्म 30. ऐसा होता है. Basically, whatever tax UP government is collecting, 10 plus 20, it has to pass on to the Bihar government. That is called destination-based tax, consumption-based tax. Whatever taxes UP government is collecting from A10 and B20, that 30 rupees tax which UP government collected as SGST, it needs to pass it to the Bihar government. That is why it is called destination based tax. The destination state gets all the taxes. The destination state gets all the SGST. The producing state will not get any GST.
If everything they are getting to the destination, then what is the meaning of value addition by the originating state?
Meaning of value addition. A is doing value addition, but UP government is not getting tax.
Even if there are 10 chains, 10 such chains, so there is
Everything will go to Bihar. No?
I mean, UP will be left with nothing.
Right.
So
But a lot of things which is originating from Bihar and going to UP, that UP will get everything and Bihar will not get anything.
Sir, for example, there are 5 chains in UP.
Right?
He is putting a lot of effort. So there is only one chain in Bihar.
Right?
So at the end, Bihar is getting all the credit.
Right? Problem क्या है?
What is the, I mean,
अच्छा. What is the logic? Who is paying tax? Who the tax burden is on whom? Consumer. Consumer is in Bihar. So the person from whom the tax is being paid, don't you think that tax money should be used for the development of Bihar? पैसा टैक्स का मैं दे रहा हूं. Why it should be used for other states development? It should be used where I am living. भाई जब मैं टैक्स दे रहा हूं तो मेरे डेवलपमेंट के लिए यूज होना चाहिए ना कि why it should be used for
your development part, your part is limited, but your part is less. Your part is only 60. I mean,
ये किसने दिया? कंज्यूमर ने दिया. ये पैसा कंज्यूमर के डेवलपमेंट के लिए यूज होना चाहिए. A didn't pay any tax from his pocket. B didn't pay any tax from his pocket. C didn't pay any tax from his pocket. All the tax burden he is incurring. So this money should be used for his development. और आपका जो थोड़ा सा concern है, CGST 60 rupees. If there is some state which is poor, from that 60 rupees it is given to that poor state under which body? Finance Commission. आप समझे तो लॉजिक क्या है? जो बंदा टैक्स दे रहा है, इट शुड बी यूज्ड फॉर हिज डेवलपमेंट. व्हाई यूपी शुड कीप एनी टैक्स?
So sir, if we see like this, so Delhi people are paying taxes, but Bihar people are having.
दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट इज कलेक्टिंग ह्यूज टैक्स. आज ही की डेट में आया है, दिल्ली पर कैपिटा इनकम इज 3 times ऑफ द नेशनल एवरेज. सो यूपी हैज 21 crore population, महाराष्ट्र हैज 10 crore population, but Maharashtra collects more GST. Why? The state which will consume more. So Maharashtra has more per capita income. So their consumption level is more. So when their consumption level is more, they collect more tax. What is the benefit of this state if these industries are in UP? UP government will not get any tax, but these will create jobs. UP people will become, per capita income will increase. They will consume more. प्रॉफिट तो कमा ही रहे, बिजनेसमैन आर बेनिफिट. ठीक है. नाउ इन केस ऑफ इंटर स्टेट ट्रांजैक्शन, नाउ इन केस ऑफ, लिख लिया आप ना ये. नाउ इन केस ऑफ इंटर स्टेट ट्रांजैक्शन, रादर देन SGST CSGST, IGST इज इम्पोज. फिर से सुन लो. For all practical, logical and for every purpose, this remains exactly same, only the terminology changes to IGST in case of interstate transactions. Rest everything exactly remains same. So B2C you will say IGST 40. You will say IGST 40, here you will say IGST 60, but everything is exactly passed in the same way. So on interstate transaction, central government imposes integrated GST, but all this transfer, all this billing, everything remains exactly same. So practically आप ऐसे ही देखो उसको, बस नाम में वहां IGST है. So if GST, suppose bread is being sold, suppose GST is 20%. Suppose in Delhi a bread is being sold, GST is 20%. So if it is sold here also, then IGST will be 20%. Again it will be divided half. बस नाम integrated change होता है. That why? Because earlier also we had on interstate transaction CST used to be imposed. Central government had the authority to levy. So here, so we have kept that same structure. Just name changes to integrated GST. So if someone asks that integrated GST is levied by center, तो उसमें IGST will write 20, we will write 40. उसमें भी क्रेडिट फ्लो एग्जैक्टली सेम रहता है. ठीक है, समझ रहे हो? आप ही से पूछ रहे हैं. कैसे बिल होगा यहाँ पे? ₹360, वैल्यू एडिशन 300, जीएसटी क्रेडिट वैल्यू ऑफ प्रोडक्ट 600. अच्छा, अब 2 मिनट ध्यान से सुन लो. गवर्नमेंट इज गिविंग क्रेडिट एट एवरी स्टेज. ठीक, गवर्नमेंट इज गिविंग क्रेडिट बैक एट एवरी स्टेज, but effectively they are paying taxes or not? They are paying taxes, na? They are getting credit also, but effectively they are paying taxes this much. ठीक है? Suppose he is a foreigner. That means this is export. Suppose. So right now what has been paid? A paid 20, B paid 40, C paid 60, government collected 120. If he is a foreigner, that means if he is exporting abroad, then government says that, then government gives this back, gives this also back, gives this also back. Government doesn't collect any tax on exports. That is why in case of exports, they will not impose this and the price becomes 600. So effectively there is no tax on export. What happens? क्या ध्यान से इधर देखो. First they pay tax and then they give a proof that we have exported abroad, sold abroad. Then government gives them back. So does government give everyone back? No. ध्यान से इधर देखो. While C sold to exporter, C ने कितना टैक्स पे किया? 60. While C has purchased this 40 tax, this 20 tax, who has incurred the burden? C. C has purchased, na? C has paid 60. B has deposited, A has deposited, but the burden of this deposit is here. So C paid 60. Now C paid 60 again here. Total 120. Government gives the entire 120 back to C. Government को इनको देने की जरूरत है क्या? नहीं. Because C has paid, na? So and C has paid here 60. So government gives C 120 back, and C doesn't pass the burden of 120 to the consumer. So exporters को they get it in 600 rupees. So first they pay tax and then government gives it back. This is called, we say that कि exports are zero rated. That means first tax is paid, but effectively government gives it back, so we call it zero rated. Exports are zero rated, sale to abroad is zero rated, and sale to special economic zones are zero rated. तो यहाँ से अगर आप SEZ में सेल कर रहे हो, then again no tax. So exports and supplies to SEZs are zero rated. Special economic zones, SEZ. समझ गए? और इसीलिए बहुत बार क्या होता है ना कि if he is an exporter, he has paid tax. Now government verifies कि he has exactly exported, then government gives it back. So it takes some one and a half months time lag. So for that time his money is blocked. So exporters for disadvantage होता है. And in case of exports, again he writes IGST. So IGST is imposed in case of interstate exports and imports. IGST is for across the state. Across the state means one state to another state, one state to abroad, abroad to one state. So imports pay. So exports you understood, interstate you understood. Imports pay, it's very simple. If I am in Gujarat and I am importing something, so when I import, customs duty. So if I have imported 100 rupees of goods, first customs duty on 100 rupees, and on top of it we put IGST. I put IGST, and then same thing will continue. So in case of imports, still we have certain cascading effect because of this customs duty. So if we are importing, देखो जैसे यहाँ पे मैन्युफैक्चर होता है, same thing remains. I imported, I paid IGST, then उसका क्रेडिट आगे मिलते जाएगा. समझ रहे हो, उसका क्रेडिट सेम वे से ऐसे ही मिलते हैं। So see here, if I am in Gujarat, I imported something. If I imported 100 rupees of something and I consumed, I will pay IGST on 100 to the government. If I procured raw material, processed it and sold it to someone else, so my value addition is suppose 200. I will collect tax, pay, and whatever IGST I have paid, suppose I paid 100 plus 20. So I will pay on this and I will get credit of this. Same thing continues. बस name IGST होता है.
In case of the IGST, would there be tax devolution like in the CGST and the SGST?
In case of IGST, again half of is shared
Between the states.
between the state and the center. कैस्केड है उसका इम्पैक्ट, दैट इज. तो आइए इंपोर्ट्स के केस भी इट्स वेरी सिंपल. आप बाहर से इंपोर्ट कर रहे हो, सेम कंटिन्यूस. सो इफ यू वांट चीपर इंडियन प्रोडक्ट्स, गो अब्रॉड एंड परचेज इंडियन प्रोडक्ट्स. क्या फिर से बोलो. राइट. अरे बी ने जो जमा किया है, who has paid this 40? C has paid ना. ये क्यों मिलेगा भाई? C purchased 360, 60 rupees, 40 he paid, 20 he paid. The burden is on C. C paid 60 here. Government will give him 120 back. खामोशी क्यों भाई? क्लियर हो गया सबका डाउट? देखो, इफ आई से कि ऑन एक्सपोर्ट्स वी हैव जीएसटी 0%, दैट इज डिफरेंट थिंग. दैट मीन्स जीएसटी रेट इज 0%. If I say zero rated, that means there are standard rates 15-20%. The exporters pay and then they get it back. So zero rated means effectively there is no tax, but he is paying the standard GST rate and then he is getting it back. That is called zero rated. क्या? वीडियो मिला ना? Repeat it several times. हाँ? आपको नहीं मिला? तो हमारा ही बटन दबाने के चक्कर में पड़े हो, रिपीट करो. भाई आई एम सेइंग कि व्हेन यू आर एक्सपोर्टिंग ब्रेड टू अब्रॉड, नाउ ब्रेड पे वी हैव 20% सपोज जीएसटी. देयर आर सर्टेन आइटम्स ऑन विच वी हैव 0% जीएसटी. नेम एन आइटम. हाँ, कल डिस्कस. There are certain products on which we have 0% GST. Name an item.
Milk.
Huh?
Eggs.
Rice, loose rice बोलो. Loose rice पे 0% GST. But even if you are selling packaged rice abroad, there is GST. But then the GST is given back, so we call it effectively 0%. Effectively 0% means there are standard rates, you pay and then you get it back. So exports के केस में there are standard GST rates, but then the exporters get it back, so they don't give the burden, pass on the burden to the exporter. So we call it effectively 0% GST, zero rated. So supplies to foreigners or exporters 0 rated and supplies to SCLs are 0 rated. ठीक है. This GST will continue tomorrow also, maybe 1 hour more. कुछ इसमें और स्कीम्स इशूज हैं दैट विल डिस्कस. हम हैं जो भी है. और आप आज टेस्ट सुनो, आप टेस्ट पेपर जिसका मन है, आधे घंटे का टेस्ट है, आप टेस्ट पेपर लेके यहाँ दे लो. जिसका यहाँ नहीं मन है आप घर पे दे लो टेस्ट. ठीक है. जो भी लोग घर पे टेस्ट दे रहे हैं और यहाँ दे रहे हैं, please bring your question paper tomorrow in the class. We will have 1.5 hour of GST discussion and then 1 hour of that test discussion और इस topic का test after 2 days. किसका time?